Chapter 15. Outside the hotel, the snowstorm was getting stronger and stronger. The wind blew so hard that the snowflakes hit the glass doors, making a deafening sound. The temperature in the hotel was warm like spring. In the bathroom, which was painted red as the main color, the little girl was wearing a thin cotton nightgown, curled up in a secret corner. Ada. I've been discovered. She thought calmly, not caring at all. Even when she saw the pair of feet getting closer and closer through the gap, she didn't feel panic. Siddle had never been as calm as she was now. Her brain worked quickly. She adjusted her posture. Her right hand tightly held the flashlight. When the metal box was roughly opened, she quickly turned on the light and shined it directly on the face of the person standing outside. The person who came forward to check the box was Kelson. He instinctively used his hand to block the light, staggered back. Siddle crawled out of the box, and ran out like the wind. In the men's bathroom, there was no one else but Kelson. The male waiter who had hypnotized Kelson, whose voice she had heard while hiding, had disappeared. Rushing out of the men's restroom, the lights in the lobby opposite had gone out, all the bright blue and yellow lights had disappeared, and behind her came Kelson's voice calling Siddle. The man's deep voice carried a hint of excitement. "Siddle, why did you run away? Do you want to play hide and seek with your father? Your father is coming to play with you now." Siddle didn't bother to turn her head, her face pale and expressionless as she ran through the lobby to the second floor, her cotton nightgown swaying with her steps like a white flower blooming in the darkness, emitting a faint light. Her hunch was right, something had indeed happened. But before danger struck, she still had one more thing to do. She rushed to the room on the second floor, ran to her parents' bedroom, and saw the blonde woman on the bed already asleep. "Mom." She walked over and shook her awake. "Wake up." Suddenly being shaken awake from her deep sleep, the woman opened her eyes in a daze. The light reflecting from the heavy snow outside the window shone into the room, dazzling her. She looked at the pale-faced little girl standing by the bed. Her petal-red lips were also pale from running so fast. Her entire face under the light outside the window became transparent. Without waiting for Ray to ask any questions, the little girl kept urging her to sit up. "Mom, come with me quickly." There was no time to explain. Siddle pulled Ray's hand and ran out. Ray was stunned. "Siddle. What happened?" She staggered after Siddle, afraid that her daughter would fall, so she pulled Siddle's hand and hugged her. Seeing the deep blue eyes on the little girl's small white face staring at her, she raised her head and said, "I can't explain to you now, but you have to hide first. I will protect you." Ray heard Siddle say, "And there's also Dad." The girl's attitude was very determined. Ray was worried and uneasy. She heard her husband calling loudly on the first floor. Ray didn't understand why Kelson had become so hot-tempered this winter. She still thought that after winter Kelson would return to his usual self, but the noise on the first floor negated her thoughts. But now she wasn't scared by Kelson, but by this completely different daughter in front of her. Siddle pulled her mother from the stairs to the back kitchen, led her mother into the warehouse, tiptoed. Ray understood and bent down. Siddle caressed her mother's cheeks, comforted her. "Mom, hide in here, don't go out. After everything is over, I'll come find you," she said softly. The warehouse in the back kitchen of the hotel was the safest place in this wooden building. It was the only place with a door made of cold-forged steel plates, which was both fireproof and waterproof, and there was enough food stored inside for a winter. The little girl's face was calm. Her deep blue eyes seemed to emit a cold light in the darkness. She suddenly let go, taking advantage of the woman's inattention to close the door. Ray panicked and rushed to the door. "Siddle, why don't you come in? Where do you want to go?" Ray only saw the little girl with a pale face, a thin body under a white cotton nightgown, walking barefoot on the ice-cold floor, her eyes as clear as water, slowly retreating and sinking into the darkness behind her. "Keep quiet." Before leaving, she mouthed a sentence, her figure disappearing into the endless darkness. It was really too easy for a child to hide in the darkness of the Overlook Hotel. Kelson's angry roar was coming closer and farther. Siddle didn't turn on the lights. In the darkness she ran from shelf to shelf. She remembered when she was walking in the warehouse area, she saw a red fire axe in a corner somewhere. Axe, weapon. Siddle thought she needed a weapon right now. A fire axe was a good choice. Before Kelson found her, she had found the axe at a corner. The handle was made of hollow wood, with a sharp killing tool attached to the front. The blade was arc-shaped, and the other end was a sharp sickle. She threw away the flashlight, picked up the fire axe, and the shiny blade reflected Siddle's indifferent face. Siddle coldly stared at the face reflected on the blade, and not long after, her pale lips curled into a cold smile. From now on, the position of the prey and the hunter had changed. She would catch that crazy stalker hiding in the dark, and then chop him into pieces. In the lobby, Kelson couldn't find Siddle's figure, so she groped her way up to the second floor. The lights in the hotel were all on for some reason. He staggered down the hallway, his body reeking of alcohol, his eyes hazy. He glanced at a room. Got you. It was empty. The man let out a disappointed hiccup, sighed in dissatisfaction, his body staggered and prepared to leave, suddenly glanced and saw an axe that had appeared in the corner at some point. The axe blade seemed to have magic. Kelson was unconsciously attracted to it. He muttered softly, not knowing what he was saying. He walked over and picked up the axe. Oh, he thought, this thing can be used to punish disobedient family members. For example, Siddle. Before he could even imagine the scene, he suddenly heard a voice calling from behind him. The sound was clear and magical, as if floating in the air, unclear and lost the sense of reality, but Kelson still turned his head instinctively. He saw the little girl in a white cotton dress standing not far behind him, her hands clasped behind her back, her face pale, softly calling, "Dad, I'm here. Aren't you looking for me?" She tilted her head, her eyes fell on the axe in Kelson's hand, her snow-white face suddenly revealed a faint look of sadness, but that look only lasted for a moment. Aha, found it. Kelson thought excitedly, but for some reason he didn't feel very happy. He thought he had to do something now. He gripped the axe tightly, slowly approaching Siddle, like an experienced hunter facing a prey about to fall into the net, both careful and reserved. The little girl raised her head to look at him, still not moving, as if she didn't intend to leave. Suddenly she burst into tears. From under her long eyelashes, sparkling tears fell drop by drop, running down her fair face. The little girl raised her head, fearlessly looking straight at Kelson, her deep blue eyes without a ripple, tears streaming down, her soft voice vaguely asking, "Dad, do you want to kill me?" Kelson stopped. He looked at the little girl who was shedding tears. The thoughts flowing in his head were suddenly interrupted. He bent down instinctively. The brief chaotic thoughts suddenly returned to normal. Kelson then remembered what he was going to do. Kelson didn't know why he bent down, although it would be more convenient to chop people like that, but he didn't have time to raise the axe. He only saw a silvery red afterimage. Bang! A heavy impact sounded. After the axe's blade made contact with the back of his neck, the tall man fell down in front of Siddle. She stared at her father who was lying unconscious on the ground with an expressionless face, the axe in her hand trembling slightly. Siddle. Suddenly she heard a shrill scream.